The courtroom of Judge Justina Judy Sharp was known across New York for one thing. No one lied there and walked out smiling. She didn't wear her glasses halfway down her nose for style. She used them like a weapon, peering over the rim whenever someone started talking nonsense. At exactly 9 a.m., the heavy oak doors creaked open. Lawyers shuffled in, reporters whispered, and a single camera light blinked red. The case everyone had been waiting for was about to begin. At the defense table sat Hania G., dressed in a deep blue suit, calm but alert, her files neatly stacked, every page tagged. Across from her, prosecutor Mark Miller looked like he'd already won. His tie was perfect, his smirk practiced. Between them stood the accused, Mr. Alex Moretti, a tall importer with expensive shoes and a face that pretended not to care. Judge Sharp banged her gavel. "Let's get one thing straight," she said, her voice slicing through the noise. "I don't run a fashion show. I run a courtroom. If you came here to perform, Broadway's that way." A chuckle rippled through the gallery. Hania didn't smile. She just opened her folder. "Clerk, case number 4489. The State of New York versus Alex Moretti, charged with large-scale smuggling of counterfeit luxury goods into the United States." Judge Sharp leaned forward. "Counterfeit luxury goods? That means fake bags, fake watches, fake dreams. Right, Counselor Miller?" Miller rose. "Yes, Your Honor. The defendant imported over $5 million worth of counterfeit designer products from overseas. Handbags, shoes, jewelry, labeled as plastic kitchenware, to dodge customs." "Kitchenware?" the judge repeated, unimpressed. "So now Gucci makes spatulas?" Laughter again. Miller's jaw tightened. Hania stood slowly. "Your Honor, the prosecution is relying on assumptions and headlines, not evidence. My client is an honest businessman. He imports legally cleared items. There's no proof that he knew anything was counterfeit." Judge Sharp turned her gaze to Hania. "Ms. G., are you telling me your client didn't notice that the plastic bowls he was importing came with diamond-shaped logos and leather straps?" Hania didn't flinch. "I'm saying, Your Honor, that international shipping documents are complex. He trusted his supplier abroad." The judge's eyebrow rose. "Trust is for marriage, Ms. G. In business, you check the box before you sign it." The courtroom laughed again, but this time Hania's lips curved just slightly, because she knew humor was Judge Sharp's armor. Beneath it, the judge wanted the truth. Miller began calling witnesses. First, a customs officer, stiff in uniform. He testified that the containers were seized at the port of Newark. Inside were thousands of luxury handbags stamped with the logos of Chanel, Prada, and Louis Vuitton, all fake. Miller paced. "Officer Green, did the paperwork indicate anything about handbags?" "No, sir. It said, plastic utensils and containers." "And were these handbags plastic utensils?" "No, sir." Judge Sharp interjected. "Unless rich people are eating soup out of leather purses, I'd say no." Laughter again. Hania rose for cross-examination. Her voice was calm, confident, almost gentle. "Officer Green, you said the documents were filed under my client's company name. Did you personally see him pack those containers overseas?" "No, ma'am." "Did you witness him giving any instructions to falsify the labels?" "No, ma'am." "So you can't testify that he knew what was inside?" "I can't, no." "Thank you. No further questions." Miller objected. "Your Honor, the evidence speaks for itself." Judge Sharp raised a hand. "Evidence doesn't speak, Counselor. That's why we have witnesses, and sometimes they mumble." The gavel tapped lightly. As the court recessed for lunch, reporters swarmed outside. Hania walked past them without answering. She knew the cameras loved her. The woman who defends the untouchable. Inside, Miller whispered to his assistant. "She's good, but we've got the video shipments. Tomorrow she'll drown." Hania overheard him but said nothing. She just looked at her client, who avoided her eyes. Something in his silence felt wrong. When she finally sat alone in her office that evening, she stared at the import records again. The signatures matched Alex Moretti's handwriting perfectly, too perfectly. She whispered to herself, Either he's innocent, or he's smarter than I thought. And for the first time that day, Hania G felt a flicker of doubt. The next morning, the courtroom was packed again. Word had spread that Judge Sharp's ruling could set a precedent for import fraud cases nationwide. Cameras clicked and whispered speculation floated in the air like static electricity. Judge Sharp entered, her robe flowing, her glasses gleaming under the courtroom lights. She didn't waste a moment on pleasantries. "Let's finish what we started yesterday," she said, her tone razor-sharp. Prosecutor Miller stood with a smug confidence. "Your Honor, we have obtained surveillance footage from the warehouse where Mr. Moretti's containers were packed. It clearly shows him inspecting and signing off on mislabeled shipments." Hania's stomach sank slightly, but she didn't show it. "Your Honor, may I see the footage before we make assumptions?" Judge Sharp tapped the desk impatiently. "You may, Ms. G, but fast. My patience is not infinite." The video played on the large screen. A man in a tailored suit walked through the warehouse, clipboard in hand, inspecting boxes labeled plastic containers. At the end of the clip, he signed a document and waved to the camera. Miller pointed. "That's him. That's Alex Moretti." Hania leaned forward, squinting at the grainy footage. Something didn't add up. The man's posture was confident, almost casual. But she noticed the angle of his signature, unusual, almost hesitant. "Objection, Your Honor," Hania said. "The video shows a man signing papers, yes, but it does not prove he knew the contents of those shipments. Furthermore, the timestamps are inconsistent with the customs logs." Judge Sharp leaned back, steepling her fingers. "Inconsistent how, Ms. G? Speak plainly." Hania clicked her tablet, pulling up shipping records. The containers were actually sealed 2 hours before this man, purportedly Mr. Moretti, signed off. He never opened a single box. He simply approved pre-packed containers, believing them to be standard imports. And look here, the signatures were copied from previous documents. Miller's confident smirk faltered. "Copied? How do you mean?" Hania stood, her voice rising with certainty. "The handwriting analysis shows subtle differences. The slant is slightly off, the pressure inconsistent. Someone forged his signature on these particular forms." Judge Sharp tapped her glasses. So we may have a clever forgery on our hands. And who do you propose did this?" Hania's eyes met Alex Moretti's for the first time in hours. His expression was unreadable. "That's exactly what we intend to find out, Your Honor." The courtroom buzzed. Miller's face darkened, realizing the case was no longer as straightforward as he thought. Judge Sharp's voice cut through the murmurs. "I like a good twist. Let's see if the prosecution can adapt to one, or if they'll crumble under it." Hania returned to her seat, a spark of determination in her eyes. The game had changed, and now she was no longer just defending her client. She was uncovering the truth behind a well-crafted deception. Outside the courtroom, reporters whispered frantically. Hania G had shifted the story. Alex Moretti wasn't just a defendant. He might be the pawn in a larger scheme. And Judge Sharp. She was already smelling the scent of a trap laid carefully by someone who wanted the spotlight, or someone who wanted revenge. Alex leaned slightly toward Hania. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Be careful. Whoever did this. They're watching everything." Hania's fingers tightened around her pen. "Then we'll make sure they slip up." And somewhere deep in the city, someone was already plotting their next move. That evening, Hania G returned to her office, her mind spinning. The signatures, the timestamps, the forged documents. Someone had orchestrated this meticulously. But who? And why? Alex Moretti sat across from her, unusually quiet. His expensive watch caught the light as he fiddled with it nervously. "Mr. Moretti," Hania began, "tell me, anyone recently have access to your shipping records? Employees, partners, suppliers?" Alex hesitated. "A few, but nothing unusual. I mean, I trust them. They know the company inside out. But someone could have manipulated the paperwork without me knowing." Hania narrowed her eyes. "Someone you trust. That's exactly what I thought." She returned to the documents, scanning every line, every signature. That's when she noticed something subtle, a tiny smudge on the ink of the forged forms. Not enough for an ordinary observer, but enough for someone trained in investigation. Hania whispered to herself. They wanted it to look perfect, but everyone leaves a mark. The next morning, the courtroom felt electric. Judge Sharp entered with her usual dramatic flair. She didn't even glance at the gallery before pounding her gavel. Today, we uncover the puppet strings behind this case. Let's begin. Hania presented a new witness, an expert in document forensics. The courtroom hushed. The signatures on the disputed documents, the expert explained, are not consistent with Mr. Moretti's usual handwriting. However, they do match another individual with access to his internal records, an employee in his import department. Miller's confident grin faltered. He tried to object, but Judge Sharp raised a hand. Quiet. I want to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Hania leaned forward. Your Honor, it appears my client has been set up. Someone forged these signatures to implicate him, knowing the authorities would rely on the paperwork alone. Miller recovered quickly. Ms. G, that still doesn't explain why the containers were labeled incorrectly. Someone must have known the items were counterfeit. Hania smiled faintly. Or, someone wanted it to appear that way. Let's not forget, the real counterfeit goods could have been swapped in after the documents were signed. The courtroom murmured. Alex's eyes flickered with surprise. Hania's mind raced. If someone could forge signatures and manipulate shipments, this was more than a legal case. This was a trap, and someone had set it for him deliberately. Judge Sharp leaned in, her tone sharper than a scalpel. Mr. Moretti, you might be innocent, but innocence alone won't protect you. You need the truth, and Ms. G is closer than anyone to finding it. At that moment, a young intern from Moretti's company, pale and shaking, was escorted in. I think I know who did it, she stammered. All eyes turned to her. It was Leo, the new operations manager. He had access to everything. He's the one who handled the forged forms, and he's the one who replaced the containers with the counterfeit goods. Miller's mouth opened, then closed. He had underestimated the depths of the scheme. Alex leaned back in his chair, finally exhaling. I should have suspected him, he muttered. But he was loyal, or at least he acted like it. Judge Sharp fixed him with her piercing gaze. Loyalty is cheap. Proof is expensive. Luckily, Ms. G seems to know how to afford it. Hania rose, feeling the momentum shift. Your Honor, with this testimony and the forensic evidence, it's clear my client did not knowingly import counterfeit goods. The true culprit is now identified and in your jurisdiction. The judge's gavel slammed down. Case dismissed as far as Mr. Moretti is concerned. But I want a full investigation into this Leo fellow. Justice doesn't end at dismissal, people. It's only the beginning. As the courtroom emptied, Alex turned to Hania. You saved me, but who knows what Leo was working for? Hania's eyes hardened. Someone powerful, no doubt. And trust me, I'll find out. No one sets a trap like this and walks away unscathed. Judge Sharp lingered as Hania left. She whispered under her breath, half to herself, half to the universe. This city never sleeps, and neither do its liars. Outside, the New York skyline glinted in the evening sun. The case was closed for now, but the shadows behind it were only beginning to stir. Hania G didn't sleep that night. Her office was quiet except for the faint hum of the city outside, but her mind raced. Leo's actions weren't just the work of a greedy employee. Someone orchestrated the entire scheme, and it was bigger than Alex Moretti's import business. She spread out all the files, shipping records, surveillance footage, and internal memos across her desk. There were patterns here, subtle, almost invisible, but consistent. Every forged signature, every mislabeled shipment pointed to someone with access not just to Moretti's company, but to international supply chains. Someone who understood customs, logistics, and law enforcement procedures. Her phone buzzed. It was Alex. I've been thinking, he said, voice low. Leo didn't act alone. He's connected. I've seen hints, Shadow emails, transfers to offshore accounts. It's bigger than us. Hania rubbed her temples. I know, and that's why we can't rush. One wrong move, and they'll disappear, and we'll have nothing. The next morning, Hania arranged a discreet meeting with the intern who had testified in court. Tell me everything you know, Hania demanded gently. The intern, still pale, whispered, Leo, he wasn't working alone. He answered to someone called Mr. Black. He never spoke about him directly, only through encrypted emails. And the shipments, some were rerouted to mysterious warehouses in New Jersey and Brooklyn. I don't know what they contained. Hania's eyes narrowed. Mr. Black, she repeated. The name sounded like something out of a spy novel. But in New York, Hania had learned, fiction often resembled fact. She and Alex decided to follow the trail themselves. By mid-afternoon, they were driving through the industrial outskirts of Brooklyn, the skyline fading behind them. Every warehouse looked the same. Brick, metal shutters, security cameras that followed their every move. Hania's gut told her they were close. And then, in a narrow alleyway between two warehouses, they spotted it. A delivery van unloading crates stamped with the same mysterious Mr. Black markings. Alex froze. We need proof, but we can't get caught. Hania smiled faintly, her nerves tingling with excitement and danger. Then we do what we do best. Observe, document, and stay invisible. They spent hours noting license plates, snapping photos discreetly, and recording patterns. Finally, they had enough to confront authorities, or to bait Mr. Black himself. But when they returned to the city that night, Hania's apartment door was ajar. Her breath caught. Someone had been inside. Papers were scattered, her laptop gone. A note lay on the floor. Stop digging, or the next shipment is yours. Her heart raced. Whoever Mr. Black was, he was watching, and he wasn't afraid to escalate. The following morning, Judge Sharp received a call from Hania, her voice calm but tense. Your Honor, I need your help. This isn't just a simple forgery case anymore. We're dealing with a criminal network that spans states. Alex Moretti was their first pawn, and they won't stop. Judge Sharp's eyes narrowed behind her glasses. I've dealt with crooks in every corner of this city. If you want to play in the shadows, Ms. G, you'd better be ready for the darkness. Hania glanced at the skyline, the city humming below, oblivious to the danger lurking in its alleys and warehouses. She knew this was only the beginning. And somewhere, in a darkened office filled with screens and shipping manifests, Mr. Black was smiling. He knew Hania G was coming, and he was ready. The game had changed. The stakes were deadly. And Hania G was now not just a defender of the innocent, but a hunter chasing a ghost in the heart of New York. Hania G paced her small office, every nerve on edge. Alex Moretti sat across from her, tense, his expensive watch tapping a nervous rhythm on the desk. We can't involve the police yet, Hania said, voice low. If Mr. Black gets wind of them investigating, the trail disappears. But we need to act before he vanishes the warehouses or worse. Someone disappears permanently. Alex ran a hand through his hair. You're talking about going in ourselves. That's insane, Hania. He's dangerous. We don't even know what he looks like. Hania's eyes hardened. We've spent weeks following the breadcrumbs. I have enough surveillance, license plates, and shipment logs to figure out who he's working with. Tonight, we see him, or at least expose part of his network. Night fell over Brooklyn. Hania and Alex, clad in dark clothing, surveilled one of the suspected warehouses. Shadows stretched across the streets. Security cameras blinked, but Hania had already found a blind spot. Through a cracked window, she saw crates being moved inside. The workers were efficient, silent. And then, a figure stepped into the faint light, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black suit, but his face partially hidden by a mask. Mr. Black himself. Alex whispered, That's him, the ghost. We have to be careful. Hania pulled out a small camera and began snapping photos. She noticed movement, a worker carrying a crate with the same luxury goods marking as before. She whispered, This is it. We have evidence. But we can't confront him directly. Not yet. Suddenly, a shadow moved behind them. Hania spun and froze. Leo! Alive. And glaring. Step away, Leo hissed. Or it's over. Alex stepped forward. Leo! Why set this all up? Leo's expression twisted, almost bitter. I didn't start this, Alex. I was just the middleman. Mr. Black, he's untouchable. He's been planning this for years. And anyone who gets close disappears. Hania's mind raced. Then why are you here? Why not stop us? Night fell over Brooklyn. Hania and Alex, clad in dark clothing, surveilled one of the suspected warehouses. Shadows stretched across the streets. Security cameras blinked, but Hania had already found a blind spot. Through a cracked window, she saw crates being moved inside. The workers were efficient, silent. And then, a figure stepped into the faint light. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black suit, but his face partially hidden by a mask. Mr. Black himself. Alex whispered, "That's him. The ghost. We have to be careful." Hania pulled out a small camera and began snapping photos. She noticed movement, a worker carrying a crate with the same luxury goods marking as before. She whispered, "This is it. We have evidence. But we can't confront him directly. Not yet." Suddenly, a shadow moved behind them. Hania spun and froze. Leo! Alive. And glaring. Step away, Leo hissed. Or it's over. Alex stepped forward. Leo! Why set this all up? Leo's expression twisted, almost bitter. I didn't start this, Alex. I was just the middleman. Mr. Black, he's untouchable. He's been planning this for years. And anyone who gets close disappears. Hania's mind raced. Then why are you here? Why not stop us? Leo shook his head. I have my own reasons. You two were never supposed to survive this far. But I can't let him kill you. Not yet. Follow me. Quickly. Days later, Alex was exonerated completely. The warehouses were raided, and federal authorities began dismantling the network. Leo disappeared once more, his loyalty unclear, leaving only questions in his wake. Hania G stood on a rooftop overlooking the city, phone in hand. Judge Sharp's voice came through. Good work, Ms. G. But be careful. New York has a way of breeding ghosts, and I have a feeling Mr. Black isn't finished yet. Hania smiled faintly, eyes glinting. Let him come. I'm ready. Below, the city never slept, and neither did its liars, thieves, and shadowy puppeteers. But Hania G had it. The city was tense. Hania G knew Mr. Black was still out there, watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. Alex Moretti had returned to a quiet life, but even he couldn't shake the feeling that danger lingered just beyond the skyline. Hania, however, thrived in chaos. Every lead, every shipment, every subtle anomaly she'd tracked over the last few weeks had led her to one thing. Mr. Black was not just a criminal mastermind. He was someone she knew. Her hunch was confirmed when Judge Sharp called her into chambers. The judge slid a thick envelope across the table. I don't usually get involved beyond the bench, Ms. G. But these documents, they came from an anonymous source inside law enforcement. They suggest Mr. Black has connections far deeper than we imagined. And one of them is someone close to you. Hania's heart skipped. Someone close? Who? Judge Sharp's eyes pierced hers. Look at the signature on the last shipment documents we seized. Look familiar. Hania scanned the papers. The handwriting was eerily familiar. Not Alex's, not Leo's, but hers. Her stomach dropped. This is mine? Not exactly, the judge said. It's a perfect copy of your signature. Someone forged it using samples from your previous cases. Hania's mind raced. Whoever Mr. Black was, he had studied her methods, her habits, her every move. He had anticipated her every step. That night, Hania returned to her office, determined to confront the mastermind. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Ms. G. A calm, menacing voice said, I've been expecting you. I think it's time we meet. The location was a deserted pier on the East River. Hania drove there cautiously, Alex insisting on coming along this time. A lone figure waited. Tall, black coat, face shadowed by the brim of a hat. The voice was familiar, chillingly so. "Mr. Black," Hania whispered. The figure removed the hat. It was Leo. Alex recoiled. "Leo? But you helped us." Leo's expression hardened. "I did because I wanted you to believe you were winning. But I play my own game. Mr. Black is me. The entire network, the shipments, the manipulations, all planned from the start. And you, Hania, were the only one clever enough to chase me." Hania's mind spun. "All this, you set up Alex? You forged documents? You threatened me?" Leo, Mr. Black, smiled. "Yes, every step. And now you're here, alone, perfectly trapped." Alex stepped forward. "Not alone." Hania nodded subtly. She had anticipated this confrontation. With a flick of her wrist, she activated a hidden GPS tracker inside her briefcase, the one carrying all evidence of Leo's crimes. Federal authorities, tipped off by Judge Sharp, were already on their way. Leo's eyes widened. You set me up?" Hania's voice was calm, almost gentle. "I let you think you were in control. But I play the long game, Leo. And your greed was your weakness." Sirens echoed across the water. Federal agents poured in, surrounding the pier. Leo, realizing the trap, tried to flee, but it was too late. In the aftermath, Alex Moretti was fully exonerated. Leo, Mr. Black, was in custody, facing federal charges for fraud, conspiracy, and international smuggling. Judge Sharp visited Hania in her office. "Well done, Ms. G. You didn't just defend the innocent, you hunted the guilty. But remember, this city never stops. New predators will emerge." Hania leaned back, exhaustion mixing with triumph. "I know, Your Honor. But tonight, at least, the city owes me a quiet one." Alex smiled. "And I owe you more than one. You saved my life and my reputation." Hania gave a rare smile. "Just make sure you stick to legal imports from now on." As the skyline of New York glimmered outside her window, Hania G knew one thing for certain. Justice was never simple, truth was never easy, but as long as she was willing to chase it even through darkness, no one could hide forever. And somewhere in the shadows, new threats were already stirring. But Hania was ready. The game of deception in New York had ended for now. Don't forget like and surprise.